the same can be said about Christian extremists or Jewish extremists, where they start to believe that the destiny of and the fate of the world must be by their hands, and that it is necessary, as the evangelicals might point out, that we bring about the end of days and cause the death of all the wrong people and start the end war and the end times so that we can bring about the second coming and Christ will return, and then we can have the golden age of peace. Now, whether you're talking about Muslims or Christians or any other groups, all of them tend to get lost in these concepts of end of days, a natural catastrophe, the killing of all the evildoers, and then the final peaceful light. And that is why, even in the opening song that I quoted, we have the words, "Why am I a broken Messiah? Someday I'll show you a shining sky. Someday I'll show you a shining world. The dreams of paradise." Now, these lyrics from the song of Death Note create the imagery of what Laito is trying to do, trying to bring about this utopian world where peace exists and all evildoers are eliminated, and he does this by using the Death Note. And so it's a very interesting show. Definitely one of the best animes I've ever seen. Now, since we're going to get into the subject of the anime genre, now, I, like many people, I'm in my 30s. I grew up watching cartoons, of course. In the West, you watch cartoons, but cartoons tended to be something only for kids. You watched Scooby-Doo, and you watched, Smurfs, Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, the normal cartoons that you grew up. And then you had some cooler cartoons. Now, I remember growing up and watching Battle of the Planets, which they aired in America as G-Force, which was one of the original Japanese anime series. But the Japanese anime genre has taken off. The concept of the manga series comics and also the animated series in Japan are quite popular. And they've become kind of a subculture in the West where only certain people are really paying attention to a lot of the anime, kind of a younger audience. And so the anime genre has become more of an adult-geared phenomena. Meaning, a lot of the anime now are geared for adults. And that's how come you see, even on stations like the Cartoon Network, they have things late at night called Adult Swim. Now, all of us have seen in the West in the last 10 years of shows like Futurama, The Simpsons, and some of the other concept shows have come out, and they've been geared for adults. But Death Note is definitely not something for kids. Now, Death Note, here is an interesting thing. I watched Death Note online. Now, a lot of the issues that we like to talk about on Hot Conflict is how the issues of technology and the internet and the spreading of mass communication is changing the way we view things and perceive things. Not only is it about we watch things on TV or see things in the movie theater, we can now view things online. I mean, you could go to hotconflict.com and listen to audios of this show, and people podcast them. They're there. You can also go to YouTube, the Hot Conflict channel on YouTube, and see tons of videos, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have downloaded videos from the Hot Conflict website. Now, what does that mean? It means that there is a subculture of people who are getting their content from non-traditional sources. And this is the same for anime. Now, the anime series Death Note, which is completed in Japan, is not even available in the United States in English. They just started releasing the first few episodes, which they have dubbed. Now, oftentimes when an anime series is dubbed into English, they change a lot of the concepts and dumb down the language and dumb down the characters. Death Note quite frankly, Death Note, when I watched it online, and I watched it in the original language with subtitles. Now, here's another interesting phenomenon. Because the official releases of Death Note have not been dubbed or subtitled in completion, fans of certain series, whether it's movies, shows, manga, comics, or other things, love different shows so much that they create their own subtitles and post these shows on different websites online. And so there are anime shows with what they call fan subs. Fan subs means that fans have created the subtitles for the show for people who are not Japanese speakers. Now, surprisingly enough, the fan sub for the series Death Note was excellent. And there's a couple of different fan subs available, and you can go out there and check them out. Now, to give props to the creators of Death Note and those who recently released the first few volumes in English to a Western audience, they've dubbed the series, and the dubbing is done very well, and they didn't dub it down, and they still kept it very serious. So if you're a fan of the show, you should definitely check out Death Note. It's on Adult Swim. In addition to that, the Death Note concept has grown so popular. Now, when we're talking about Death Note, the manga series, the comic book, the manga series has continued past the comic animation, the anime series. The actual comic books are continuing even though the anime series is complete. And in addition to that, there are Death Note full feature films, meaning live action films with actors, not anime. There's a first film and a second film, and I believe they're in production for the third film of Death Note. And you can check those out. I don't know if fan subs are available for that, but definitely the concept of Death Note is sweeping the nation. Well, you're listening to our special Supernatural Thursday episode of the Hot Conflict Radio Show. And as I said, today we're talking about the concept of death. Now, is this concept real? Is the idea of a death note something that really can occur? Well, here's where we go into the religious theology of the concept of death. Now, I must start off with some basics. In Islam, in the religion of Islam, we have something called the kaba'ir. What do I mean when I say the kaba'ir? Kaba'ir in Arabic will be translated as the major, or those things that are major. Now, when we talk about the kaba'ir in Arabic, it is a term that refers to the major, but normally it refers to the major sins. And when I say the major sins, what are we talking about? Now, contrary to popular opinion, and you've heard this if you're a fan of the show, that there are many people who assume that when we're talking about Islam or the belief in Allah, God, we're talking about some pagan, demonic, heathen god or a moon god or some other strange concepts that you see so popularly espoused by people of other religions when referring to Islam. Well, in actuality, the fundamental of Islam is that there is only one God. We refer to him as Allah. The term Allah means the God, meaning the God, the one and only, the Lord, the Most High, the one who has the power to give life and the one who takes life. The one who takes life. Now, in Islam, when we say the kaba'ir, the major sins, the first of the major sins is called shirk. And shirk means associating some partners with God, giving God the Almighty a partner, meaning assigning any of the attributes or powers of the Lord to anyone else, worshiping anyone besides the Lord, or giving anybody else godly attributes. Anything like that is considered shirk. Now, when I often teach people about the kaba'ir or the major sins, I usually ask people what is the major sin, and normally people guess shirk, or which is polytheism, or some form of paganism, or some form of association of worship with something other than the Lord Most High.